All right. Well, let's turn it over to Jenny. You're going to tell us about how we conduct an investigation.
Yeah, and you guys have made it really easy. We've done a lot of talking about the equipment and kind of the good and the bad and kind of reasons for why we do what we do. But I'm just going to kind of cover some basics related to baseline, setting up cameras, teams, process, methods, mindset, no-nos during an investigation, and maintaining integrity of the evidence, and then of course the cleanup. So I'll probably go through these a little more quickly than I initially thought I would, but really trying to get our arms around what is an investigation, how do you conduct it, what are the major pieces involved. So, one of the key pieces of an investigation are the baselines, and we talked a little bit about that. It's really important to kind of get the feel for the area that you're investigating. So, it's you can document this by pen and paper. You can document it any way you like, but probably some of the key areas to think about with baselines is maybe labeling the rooms or naming the rooms and locations so that you have a feel for going back to a recorder later to kind of have a feel for where you were when you were actually talking about the baselines. So whether that's numerically or by name or by location. Couple of the basics for baselines are room temperature, K2 readings, kind of understanding what might be causing changes to our devices. For example, electrical boxes or an area on a wall that might all of a sudden seem as if there's activity going on. And there's no activity going on. There's something behind the wall that you might not understand. Or, I mean, honestly, it could actually be where there's something going on and people could go back later and there's nothing. But just kind of getting a really good understanding of the area that you're investigating. Another thing to comment on this when you're doing the baselines is to think about sounds that might be happening and documenting that as well. For example, there might be a refrigerator that's going on and off. That's normal for this area, but we're brand new to the area. So we might not know that that is a normal occurrence. So documenting that during a baseline is important. And typically, how our team will do this is they'll pick two people to go around and do those baselines because like people have said, we don't like to have people doing things on their own. Always good to have a buddy for a number of reasons. So the baselines are important to have so that later on, if activity is happening, we can go back to that and say, oh, you know what? That was actually documented in the baselines. And then we can kind of have that as a standing point of, okay, we already know this about this building. These are the things that we're aware of. Setting up cameras. One of the things that I've learned from being a part of investigations is that it's really important to tape down the wires, especially if there are stairs in the location that you're located, because you turn the lights off and you can easily trip over them. So the cameras, I know that we've done a really good job with labeling them and knowing what numbers they are, so that we can kind of keep track of where they are. Um, Also important to understand how long the wires are, because depending on how big the building is, you may need a different size wire. I'm going to cough, pause.
So I won't even edit this out. While Jenny is coughing, I'll just interject and say, sometimes we get asked the question, why don't you use wireless cameras? And one of the big reasons is because the connection is unreliable. And also, like, dependent upon the size of the building, the connection definitely, like, unless you were hooked up to Wi-Fi and then had like a booster to like get the signal back and forth, and even that's unreliable. The Wi-Fi could go out, then you lose a camera, and then you're wasting the investigation. So the old-fashioned tried and true wires is where it's at. If something goes wrong, we know we can just switch out a cord or the wires really quickly, and not every place we go even has electricity. So or Wi-Fi. I guess there's always usually some electricity in one room for base camp. But anyway, sorry, Jenny, go ahead now that you're done joking. You're on mute. You're on mute.
All right, thank you for doing that. I was coughing. I had to put myself on mute. Of course, I was coughing.